Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pearce, and my esteemed YouTubing colleague,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Terry from the Greg Terry Experience, who is co-streaming as well. Hello,
Yes.
Greg, welcome.
Good morning to you, JP. Good morning to all the ATP Geopolitical crew, of which your community is so kind. A lot of my videos that go up, they'll come in and say, with love from ATP family. So, in fact, that's what I messaged you. People were saying in the comments, time for another live. And then we were going to do one this weekend, and here we are.
Yeah, it was rather quickly arranged because I was like, "Oh, I've got a spare hour now." My partner's doing some schoolwork, as in she works in the school, so she's getting some stuff done this weekend. So this is a good time, even though it's a beautiful day outside, UK styly, sunshine gleaming through, and yet around the world we've got areas burning. I mean, you said nice background. We've got the globe there in the background to represent global geopolitics, but the thing's not on fire. It needs to be on fire.
Yeah, I just needed you to add some flames on top of it, and we'd be good.
So, where do we start? I think I would like to start, if you don't mind, Greg, talking about sanctions, because this kind of covers two bases here with regard to both Ukraine with regard to Russian sanctions being relieved, but also obviously Iran. We'll start with Iran. Let's show some different sources here. I'm just going to work out what the best way to do this.
Well, while you're working out the best way, let me just make this statement as we get going.
Yep.
We're in day 21 of Operation Epic Fury, Epstein Fallout, whatever you want to call it.
I've got some stuff on that.
In the 21 days, we've had Russian oil unsanctioned, Iranian oil unsanctioned. Iran is actually charging money to some ships to get through the Strait of Hormuz. The stock market has been demolished, 1 trillion gone. Our glorious F-35 has unfortunately been struck, and the fear of it is now out a little bit. American bases are under constant attack. We've lost soldiers, and we've replaced Khamenei with Khamenei. Let me tell you something, buddy. That's a 3 weeks.
Yeah, and the USS, is it USS Gerald Ford, the big carrier, has had issues anyway with toilets issues, which sounds like that's a minimal thing. No, it's a really serious thing. And there are claims that they have been sabotaged as well by the sailors because morale is down. They haven't, I don't think they've been to home port for a long time. They're out there. There was a fire on board. I think that's the same ship as well. They've got toilets flooding whole areas and people having to sleep in all sorts of different places.
Yeah, and here's what I can tell you in regard to that. My grandfather was World War II Navy hero, and I've been on a lot of warships, of course, back in the day, not to the level that we have now, in the 80s, 90s, and taking dependence cruises. I lived in Norfolk, Virginia, where the world's largest naval base was. And if I think about it, just from the information we know, that 600 soldiers, that's a fact, had lost their places to sleep, and the fire was on multiple levels, problems in the plumbing system, etc. And it was a large scale issue, however it happened.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
So let's go then to our first port of call, so to speak. The US and its allies have intensified the battle to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, sending low-flying attack jets over the sea lanes to blast Iranian naval vessels and Apache helicopters to shoot down drones. It's all about the Straits of Hormuz. And before we get onto the sanctions, Greg, I just want to speak to, I know I've told my audience I'm going to give them a little analysis on this, but some are claiming that Keir Starmer in the UK has capitulated to Trump in that we are now allowing US bases to be used to strike at missile and military components that would attack ships in the Straits of Hormuz, and therefore is looking like Trump, that Keir Starmer is maybe capitulating or U-turning. to allow the US to do this. But France is also allowing bombers to now go over French airspace to do the same. My theory is that this isn't actually a capitulation. This almost has nothing to do with Trump. This is actually an attempt by European nations or allies, otherwise allies to the US, to open the Straits of Hormuz. I think nations are looking at this going, irrespective of what Trump is doing, we desperately need to open the Straits of Hormuz, but we don't want to be involved directly in a war. So either we sit here and don't do anything to help open the Straits of Hormuz, which screws our economies over, or we help the US try and open the Straits of Hormuz because they were the ones that caused this problem, but we're not going to be sending up planes ourselves. So I don't think this is capitulation, and I'm not trying to get Keir Starmer off the hook. I think you are seeing European nations get together and try and work out amongst them how best to alleviate the horrible economic situation.
Well, I was looking forward to getting your opinion on that because you're there in the UK, I'm here in the US, and we hear many different things. And I always look to you or Jonathan Fink to get the real lowdown on what's happening in UK politics. But I will tell you this right now, whether it's capitulation, not capitulation, European Union, of course, which UK is not a part of with the Brexit, it's a ball of fire right now. And if we allow the Strait of Hormuz to continue to be closed, that amplifies the economic issues that are already in place due to the absence or limitations of Russian fuel, oil, gas, etc. So we're just snowballing the problem. But here's where I would suggest, my European friends and global friends, you have a huge dilemma. Number one, you cannot trust Donald J. Trump, period, full stop. Secondly, I would not be shocked if he took all of our warships and went home and said, we won.
Yeah.
Good luck to you guys. We don't need any of that. I don't expect that to happen, but it wouldn't shock me. There's no shocking me now. And then you got a real big, ugly mess. So I think European nations and others are doing what they need to do. I mean, it was Merz yesterday who came out and said, I know Trump doesn't like me right now, but that's just the way it is. We still have to try to find a way to get things done. Listen, you know as well as I know that we've been following and supporting the war in Ukraine for now into the 5th year. And we know how this works. The lies, the misinformation, say one thing, go another direction, misdirection, we got it. But with this war in Iran, it's impossible to read anything because the commander-in-chief of the global operation against Iran operates off what he feels in his bones. And the statement today, or it was last night, he was standing there with Rubio. You know, how is this going to stop? When's this going to end? Basically was the question. He goes, maybe, maybe not. I don't know. You know, therefore, everybody's in a pickle. Everybody's in a pickle.
Free Mertz here. He's not exactly on very good terms with me at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and what Trump has just said, this is the off ramp. I mean, he's going to try and declare victory, possibly. So this is one of his options. He's at least giving himself the option of getting out of Dodge after 3 weeks of war, which is costing over $1 billion a day, escalating across the Middle East and disrupting global energy security. He is saying the following thing: we are getting very close to meeting our objectives as we consider winding down our great military efforts in the Middle East with respect to the terrorist regime of Iran. 1, completely degrading Iranian missile capability, launchers, and everything else pertaining to them. 2, destroying Iran's defense industrial base. 3, eliminating their navy and air force, including anti-aircraft weaponry. Right, that's all things that they can and are doing. So I'd agree that, yeah, the US and Israel are having success doing that. But the important things are the following, because this is really why they got involved. never allowing Iran to get even close to nuclear capability, and always being in a position where the USA can quickly and powerfully react to such a situation should it take place. Now, the problem is they don't have the 60% enriched uranium that they are claiming exists. And so therefore, in order to get that, they'd have to have boots on the ground. So I don't think they can achieve that. Number 5, protecting at the highest level our Middle Eastern allies, including Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Kuwait, and others. The Hormuz Strait will have to be guarded and policed as necessary by other nations who use it. So they haven't succeeded in the Straits of Hormuz. So this is, I think, a failure. The United States does not. If asked, we will help these countries in their Hormuz efforts, but it shouldn't be necessary once Iran's threat is eradicated. Importantly, it will be an easy military operation for them. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And of course, it's not an easy military operation, because otherwise they would have done that already. He keeps saying we've got the greatest military in the world. We've wiped them out 100%. It's easy to keep the Straits of Hormuz open. But can you help us do it? Because we can't do it because we don't have mine hunters and you guys do, and so on and so forth. And it's just, it's an absolute joke. I think that kind of statement.
I completely agree with you, and that's just confirming what I was telling you before, that there's no way you could ever trust that individual, because here's my gut feeling. If the United States puts boots on the ground on Karg Island,
trouble.
We're going to be having a completely different discussion. And I watch this every day. I watch direct media out of Iran, Middle Eastern nations, Israel. I mean, I get video. I watch them fire their rockets. I can't share that video. Not that I'm looking out for their operational security. I just don't have permission. But they slung 2 missiles at Diego Garcia just to make a statement. It wasn't about them hitting anything. And yes, they're being smashed, but they were preparing for this. Iran is a much bigger place than most people realize. It has 93 million people. It is a theocracy, meaning it is led by that Ayatollah Khamenei, or Mujtaba Khamenei, whatever condition he's in. I don't know. Nobody knows. But the bottom line is, people, when you continue to attack a people, they will eventually rally together. And my concern is, if that's what you call a success, you're done. You're going to lose 100%. And I keep saying this every day, and it's just from my experience working in the Middle East, Ukraine, that whole area, 1040 window. Guys, Turkey is the wild card here. Turkey is the wild card. Every day, their rage against Israel increases. It's not hearsay. President Erdogan is daily making statements about the hatred of Israel. It's only going to take one significant action, and Turkey's going to be involved in this. And that's a problem. And I really believe it could happen. I really do.
Under other American leaders, that would be seen as more of a problem, because that would entail the breakup of NATO. But for Trump, that's kind of part of his agenda, right?
It very well may be. Exactly. It makes it even more possible.
Yeah, and he's just, I can't believe that he called NATO cowards, all caps cowards. And this is not this is a unilateral decision by the United States, or with Israel, or probably a unilateral decision by Netanyahu bringing the US on board to go to war offensively, which is not something that's in the remit of NATO. NATO is and it seems ridiculous to keep having to say this, but that Trump doesn't understand this and keeps denigrating NATO. That's like me, I don't know, just the potholes aren't fixed on my road outside my house, right? So I'm going to complain to FIFA, like the International Football Association. It's like, it's not their remit. Although, NATO is a military organization, but their remit isn't going to help anyone who is a member state who decides to go to war with someone else. It's about, if one of our member states are attacked, we'll invoke Article 5 to come to their aid, right? We don't go and help someone on an imperialistic jaunt around the world. So the fact that he keeps attacking NATO and NATO member states is entirely reflective of his lack of understanding of NATO, and he also shows how he doesn't understand how it's funded. But anyway,
well, I'll even take it a step further. The only person that would ever, and this is a typology, but the only person that would ever call somebody else a coward is one who is a coward. You see, that's just, think about it. Only a coward will call others a coward. And this, forget all of the not understanding. When it comes down to the bottom line, this is a man that has no morals, no scruples, and he does not care. I looked at a graphic yesterday, and then I did a research on it to make sure it was accurate. But during this administration, the last year, the children of Donald Trump and Stephen Witkoff have enriched their personal pockets by billions. And the world looks at it, will make a passing statement, but it just goes on down the highway and we forget about it. We've lost. I told you to put a flame on that globe.
Anne Applebaum puts this very well. I mean, you were talking about Trump just saying Donald Trump does not think strategically, nor does he think historically, geographically, or even rationally. He does not connect actions he takes on one day to events that occur weeks later. He does not think about how his behavior in one place will change the behavior of other people in other places. He does not consider the wider implications of his decisions. He does not take responsibility when these decisions go wrong. Instead, he acts on whim and impulse. And when he changes his mind, when he feels new whims and new impulses, he simply lies about whatever he said or did before, which I think is very well stated. Now, one of your viewers, Undercover Pirate 69, says 1 or 2 countries leaving doesn't mean NATO will be disbanded. So although that's true.
That's accurate.
I want to just bring this in to play because I think this is insanely important. And this underwrites my position on why I don't think Starmer or say Macron are capitulating to Trump. I think there's a wider move going on around the world behind the scenes that we are probably not so openly privy to, right? And I think people in the EU and Canada and other nations are thinking we need to protect ourselves against the rogue Trumpian United States here, and we also need our economies to function. So we need to open the Straits of Hormuz without giving into what Trump is directly requesting. So when you hear a Politico article like this being written, EU liberals pitch NATO-style trade pact with Canada, Japan, and South Korea. And I talked about this the other day, but the European liberal political family is urging EU leaders to form a pact with Japan, Canada, and South Korea to deter US President Donald Trump and China from exerting undue pressure on trade partners, according to a paper seen by Politico. So you've got these two essentially empires, China, possibly with Russia, BRICS, and then you've got the United States. And in the middle, you've got the EU or Europe as a whole, and then you've got Canada, and then you've got Australia, Japan, South Korea, and these nations wanting to be able to deal with a rogue US. And so I don't think you'll see Starmer capitulate. I think what you'll see Starmer do is try and solve a problem within a framework of operating with other like-minded allies around the world.
How long does Starmer stay in office?
Till 2029, I think it is. That's the next general election.
How long does Macron stay in office?
2027, next year, and that is a worry because you've got Rassemblement National chomping at the bit to get in charge, and they are more likely to be pro-Trump and anti-EU.
How long does Viktor Orban stay in office?
Hopefully April the 12th, and then Peter Magyar, and that is a big one. That is a big one.
Listen, JD Vance is coming to stump for him.
Not only that, but actually it's even worse than that. So
I know.
So Donald Trump has released a video endorsing him publicly. I don't know if you've seen that. It's here it is. CPAC. He's come out. I mean, I could play this to you, but basically he says, also want to send.
I am endorsing, as you know, I am endorsing his election, which is coming up pretty soon. He has my complete and total endorsement. As a matter of fact, Prime Minister has been a strong leader who's shown the entire world what's possible when you defend your borders, your culture, your heritage, your sovereignty, and your values. He's a fantastic guy, and it's such an honor to endorse him. I endorsed him last time he won, and he did a fantastic job for his country, especially at the borders with all of the crime and all of the problems that other countries have. You don't have that problem. You had very, very powerful, very strong borders, and he's responsible for it. So I hope he wins, and I hope he wins big. And despite all of the attacks, you have to understand he keeps on winning, something that we all share in common. We want to win, but we want to win fairly, evenly. Everyone is your commitment to common sense and conservative principles and to the common civilization that Americans, Hungarians, and Europeans.
Anyway, I don't want to hear any more of that. So essentially, he is
wait a second.
formally endorsing him.
I'm not going to be covering this story because I always want to chase facts and bring facts to the table. But I'm telling you, at least a dozen different places that I follow of the hundreds have reported that Russia is working inside, and they were even discussing a possible, I don't want to use the word on our live stream.
Attempt.
Yes, like a Butler event, to boost him in the polls. And in addition to that, I just want you to know that what was just stated, let me interpret that for you guys, because I know it was very orange, but let me interpret that. I fully endorse a man who loves Vladimir Putin. I fully endorse a man who loves to eat McDonald's cheeseburgers as much as I. I fully endorse a man who is trying to hold Ukraine hostage by blocking every sanction and every financial bill that comes through to bring assistance to our border neighbor. And I fully endorse the man who allows his nation to hijack Ukraine's armored vehicles, hold 7 people in handcuffs with blindfolds, give them truth serum, return the vehicles, who knows what condition they're in, and then brag about it while keeping the money.
So SVR, which is the Russian
Fully
intelligence service of the Russian Federation, they apparently, Washington Post got hold of this plan that they had to assassinate Viktor Orban, or do a false flag attempted assassination to make it look like they're after him. I don't know, Ukrainians, EU, whoever it is, and then that would give him that bump in the polls that he needs. You've also got, as mentioned here by Timofey Milovanov, looking to a V-Square. This is a Visegrad. There's an investigative organization from those 4 countries of Visegrad, showing that Putin's former interpreter is involved in Hungary's election process. So you can go, I won't go into details here, but essentially Russia are very much involved in trying to get him re-elected. And then you've suddenly got an endorsement from Trump as well. You've got JD Vance going as well to Hungary to endorse Viktor Orban. You have a concerted effort by both the United States and the Russian Federation to get Viktor Orban elected. Like I'm amazed at the continued amount of alignment between Trump's US government and Russia.
Why are you amazed? It's not an alignment between the governments. Hear me closely. It's not.
By governments, I mean the Trump administration. I mean
it is a love affair of Donald Trump for Vladimir Putin, and that pushes into the government.
Yes, but there are others around him that I think are also.
Dear sir, if we could go back in time and bring 2 guests on here right now, if we had that kind of pull make a phone call, and on hops Marco Rubio, on hops Lindsey Graham. And we were to ask them 10 years ago, what is your opinion of Donald Trump? And they would demolish him. And secondly, what is your opinion of Vladimir Putin and Russia? They would demolish him. Today, they only wear the shoes that Donald Trump has given them that are too big for their feet and endorse everything that man says because they're afraid to lose any power that they have. We have turned into an authoritarian evil. That is why you say, I can't believe how much the United States is aligning with Russia. The Americans are not aligning with Russia. Republicans and Democrats, we hate it, but we have an elected commander-in-chief who every night walks by through the West Wing and gives Putin a kiss as he goes by the picture on the wall.
I would slightly contest that.
That's fine.
By point of fact that for every Don Bacon, a Republican who is retiring, he's going to not run again because he doesn't like the administration. For every Don Bacon that stands against what the Trump administration is doing with regard to Ukraine by being sort of pro-Russian, the Trump administration, for every Don Bacon you have, you've got 20 or 30 Republicans who are not saying anything. And I think the complicity of the Republican political establishment in allowing Trump to run roughshod over decades of foreign policy is unacceptable. So
I completely agree with that. Yes.
If you ask them in private, they would no doubt say, yeah, I hate Russia and blah, 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 blah. But if they're not going to come out and say something about it in public, then they are useless to the cause, right? And
they're complicit.
They're very useful. Yeah, and that is what gets me is that Trump is able to continue to do these things because no one is holding him to account, particularly in his own party.
I can't disagree with that. Yeah. And the ones that do, even the shock ones who completely went 180 like a MTG, excommunicated and now some nut job. Tommy Massey is nothing but a disaster, a horrible human being. The attack on his wife, the attack on him personally. We're dealing with a vile, evil human being.
Yeah. So before we, I want to go back to the Epstein files because I think that's super important to understand with what's going on in Iran. They are connected, definitely.
No question.
But I want to go back to the sanctions because that's where we started. We've had a little sort of trip on the buses around the neighborhood. Let's get back to sanctions. So nobody is talking about what's actually happening in the Persian Gulf, says Brian Allen here. Right now, 3,200 commercial ships are trapped, not military vessels, civilian crews. So when I talk about Keir Starmer, what Keir Starmer or Macron or whoever is doing to help in the Straits of Hormuz, we are protecting civilian. Like, this isn't helping the United States to bomb the crap out of Iran for a laugh. This is, we need to release these civilian vessels that are trapped, 3,200 carrying oil, grain, electronics, medicine, and fertilizers. So there are claims that American farmers are up in some of these big Republican states, there's a big group of them up there, are really struggling. They do not have fertilizers for their growing season yet. And there is a very real worry that you could have a farming catastrophe in the United States that would have been of Trump's own making. That is serious.
I am seeing of that news reported through I live in Pennsylvania. So once you go west from here, you move out into, Ohio and Indiana, and then you push on over Illinois, Iowa, that huge grain belt there where, for example, in Iowa, this is no joke, and there may be people in here from Iowa, but you can literally ride for miles and miles, and it's just lines of corn or whatever crop is planted. We're talking, and the farmers are complaining. And here's the thing, Johnny. Farming is based on a schedule of weather. So you have windows of plant, windows of fertilization. Here in Pennsylvania, you want your stuff in the ground by Memorial Day, and then they'll say your corn should be knee high by the 4th of July. And you see right there, that's what I was talking about. That central belt.
This person says the agricultural secretary just confirmed it publicly. 1 in 4 American farmers has no fertilizer
Chris,
accrued for spring
Nebraska,
planting. No fertilizer, no crops, no food. Farm bankruptcies are up 46% in 2025. 160,000 farms closed in 2017. And then, by the way, it's then connecting these things. So then you get the potash. A potash exporter from Belarus having sanctions lifted. This is partly to get fertilizer from Belarus onto the market, but then of course that fits in with hammering Canada by having, I presume, tariffs on potash coming from Canada. So it's like, let's prefer dictatorships to our Canadian democratic allies. But anyway, so the farming side of things is not to be dismissed. This is a huge issue. To continue where I was, so crews are running out of drinking water on these ships. So you've got 3,200 ships. You can see some of these in the Persian Gulf there. It's really serious. Ships are running out of drinking water. One ship contacted the local port authority and begged for permission to dock just to resupply. They were denied. For context, the Suez Canal crisis in 2021 trapped 400 ships and disrupted global supply chains for months. This is 8 times that. The cameras are pointed out at missile interceptions and oil price charts. Nobody is showing you the civilian sailor who can't get drinking water in a war zone he never signed up for. If these ships are abandoned, the environmental catastrophe alone, thousands of tons of fuel and chemicals sitting unmanned, would be generational. This is not a shipping disruption. This is a humanitarian crisis, and it started 3 weeks ago on a feeling. Never stop connecting the dots. So the point is that this is a disaster, but it's not just oil. There are other things.
I just did a little quick analysis here to this point, impact on American farmers, and asked for it to break down. Fuel prices spiking, fertilizer costs surge, crop prices rise, but unevenly. Export disruptions are impossible to calculate. Eventual interest rate, economic ripple effects. Bottom line, a short term, which we're already beyond 0 to 2 weeks, is fuel spike, market panic, and volatility arrives. Medium term, 1 to 3 months, you get into the fertilizer disaster.
I mean, so I was reading listening to an analysis on the Bulwark with an economist who's saying, right, we're gonna war game this, and we're gonna worst case scenario it. So this is dooming, right? But the doom scenario is bad, right?
Very.
You've got global recession is a non-zero risk here. So global recession, because Trump decided to go to a war that he didn't plan adequately for, is not good enough. And he needs to be held to account, not just by American politicians and American people, but by the international community. So I would expect at some point soon, and it needs to be done in unity, but other leaders coming out and actually calling out Trump on this, because otherwise he gets away with murder again.
I can tell you right now, and it's interesting, we've been live now for 32 minutes, and I'm going to say the word for the first time, Ukraine. Right now, on their shelves in their grocery stores, really struggling with buckwheat supplies, okay? And that is a ripple effect, of course, from the war there but with Russia. But it's already spreading, and it will only continue every day. And I can tell you that just 10 minutes ago, Iran unleashed another massive attack on Saudi Arabia.
Can I just this?
I thought they have no military. It's all destroyed.
100% destroyed, apart from
100% destroyed.
We can't keep these Straits of Hormuz open. Ralfami here, really good point. The US has the largest monoculture agriculture in the world. What that means is they don't really do the crop rotations, as far as I understand it, the crop rotations that you would normally have in order to fix certain nutrients in the ground. So if you have one crop growing continuously on vast areas of land, so some of these fields are like absolutely huge, then what you need to do is consistently put into the ground the fertilizers that they need. So normally you would have like a crop, then you would have a nitrogen fixing crop that might be sown in a fallow year to fix nitrogen into the soil. Then you would grow another crop or that same crop again, but you rotate it in order that you have soil health. what
Okay.
I presume the US does is just go for, like, I'm a corn farmer. I grow corn. And so every year I need to whack a bunch of fertilizer into the ground because the ground is not healthy enough over decades of monocultural farming.
Okay. And there was somebody in my chat here he said, don't forget about Nebraska. And now just not good Idaho potatoes. Listen, it's hard to understand the United States. These farms out in the central area of our country, it's not like you've got Granddaddy Joe on a John Deere. That's how it started. These are massive corporate operations now. And I'll give you one just to think about the differences in culture. Culturally, a lot of Americans like to deer hunt, for example. And I can personally tell you that there are, and it's a drop in the bucket, of course, compared to corporate farming, but even down to deer hunters and companies that own or lease thousands and thousands and thousands of acres are doing the same type of management. I personally am connected to some very close friends and family members that spend gazillions of dollars on fertilizing thousands of acres to manage wildlife. It's a big deal everywhere throughout the United States.
Well, what I don't want is that Trump to get off the hook for this, because with the people who are, it's evident that many farmers in the United States are diehard Trump supporters, and I've seen
it's changing though, brother. It's changing.
But that's my question. Is that I'd seen before this incident? So when there were issues with farming some months ago, I can't remember whatever it was, but you had issues, farmers complaining about. I forget. It was tariffs. It was to do with tariffs, and there was still a lot of forgiveness of Trump, or Trump will sort it. But even though it's clear that this was a self-inflicted wound, and of course then he gives these bailouts to farmers, right? But I wonder, does it get to a point here where you're like, Trump can't extricate himself from this situation? He can't, like, everyone knows that this is him. Surely he can't blame Biden, Ukraine, or the Iranians, although he will try.
Our culture is very different, and you have to look at it two ways. A lot of the video clips that you'll see coming out are what I would call the good old boys. You know, the 65-year-old farmer that's got a nice family, he's got a few John Deeres, the overalls on, the straw hat. That's the typology of people that are changing their opinions as they're now seeing the pain. But those would be the ones, you know, that were diehard, never change. Yeah, this is the greatest thing for the world, but now it's changing. I can even tell you that yesterday I had a conversation with a young person, late 20s, from the South, diehard Trump, like Trump flags, Trump bumper stickers, Trump is Jesus, everything. Spoke to them last night, and it was one of the most redeeming conversations I've ever had.
Oh, nice.
His name is Josh, and I can say that. So no, Josh goes, Greg, I was wrong. I cannot believe everything you were telling me a year ago, 2 years ago. I should have listened. And you have to understand, I pimped this guy like crazy, and I was wrong. And now I'm trying to unpimp all the damage I've done. Because it's not conspiracy theories, it's not chasing, it's just facts. I said, thank you. Thank you. And all I can do, Johnny, is say, okay, that gives me some hope. That gives me some hope.
I saw a woman interviewed the other day on, I think, NBC, and she was like, yeah, I voted him for I voted for him 3 times. It turns out I'm an idiot. And I just loved the candid,
that went viral. She was from the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Oh, right. Nice one. Yeah, I just love that. Like, turns out I am an idiot. Like, hands up. My bad. Okay, so let's continue on the
Yes, sir.
sanctions side of things. So
Please do.
US
There's a lot.
Treasury Scott Bessent said Washington will release around 140 million barrels of Iranian oil already at sea. The move is aimed at increasing global supply, stabilizing energy markets, and reducing price pressure. The authorization is temporary and limited to oil already in transit. So very similar to what they've done with the Russian sanctions relief as well. So Axios reporter Barak Ravid says the US is to allow Iran to get $14 billion in oil revenue. This is a huge financial concession to Iran by the US. It's the first time that US is buying Iranian oil since 1996, and it's all happening in the middle of a war against Iran. Just like staggering that you would try and help the very nation that you're at war with.
Listen.
Quote the United States, Washington Post. So, quote, the United States has spent years building sanctions architecture specifically designed to constrict Russia and Iran. Within 3 weeks of this conflict starting, they're tearing it to threads. Iranian strikes have yet to affect port loadings of the fuel in Saudi Arabia, but that could change. In the port of Yanbu was substantially damaged. For example, that could remove 5 to 6 million barrels per day from the market and potentially push oil prices to $150 or higher. Like, the US is helping its enemies. It seems bizarre.
That's all you need to know, guys. You do not need any other analysis. You don't need anything else. 1 second.
And here, I'll read this out then. Washington has temporarily lifted sanctions on part of Iran's oil. India has already expressed interest in purchasing it. On March the 20th, the US Department of the Treasury issued a license allowing the supply of sale of Iranian origin crude oil. So there you go. And they've done that with Russia.
I was getting messaged over here. I want to finish that thought. You're funding your enemy, and it's just how is that even possible? And here's the other thing that you need to think about one level further. If ultimately you come to the place where you want a regime change, which is needed, well, definitely one way to do that is to limit the funds in the coffers for the current regime. So you're actually benefiting that regime, benefiting that war. It's more than just putting money in the coffers, but you're giving them the tools they need to stay in power. That's the issue. As
Mitch Ashdown says, and he's super chatting you, Greg, has Trump missed doing a single thing that would destroy America? Like, everything he does at the moment appears to be to the benefit of, I mean, it depends how you view his definition of America. So if you've got some kind of weird isolationist or quasi-expansionist imperial America, then I guess you could see it. Some things he does to its advantage, but essentially everything he does is to the advantage of Russia, Orban, dictators, anti-EU. He's against liberal democracies. Like, that is what Trump is positioning himself against. And yeah,
it's incompetent, sir. And we're just going to see more and more of this. And unfortunately, you know, JP, when you have the funding of your enemy, when you have the partnering up, friendship, buddying, cozying up to Lukashenko, the longest running dictator in Europe, who is in the pocket of Vladimir Putin, who has now been invited to Mar-a-Lago. And then, of course, Vladimir Putin. You have the obvious respect for someone like a Kim Jong-un. We can go back to the hot mic moment from the military parade. Nothing should shock, guys. And at this point, his ideology is not going to change. It's only going to be amplified. And
I guess that it's a very poor kind of reward for someone like yourself, Greg, and me too, to say, I freaking told you so. Like you were saying earlier with your mate Josh. Say, thank you for saying that, but I did tell you so. Like, I've been accused of having TDS and all this kind of stuff that inoculates people from ever hearing criticism of Donald Trump. But it's like, do you know what? Everything I've said about Trump has been absolutely bang on. So anyone that has ever criticized me for my criticism of Trump, you can go and take a long walk off a short pier. Because quite frankly, I was right. And I was right in 2015, and I've been right for 11 years on Donald Trump. So stick that in your pipe and smoke.
I get accused of that as well, because I will be honest, 100% transparent. I didn't expect it to be this bad. But it's blowing beyond my wildest imaginations. But I definitely don't have TDS. I have DTS. I've been diagnosed with deranged Trump syndrome, not Trump derangement syndrome. I can't help it. He's deranged.
Yeah.
But I can identify it.
Yeah. Just a few thanks for you here, Petra Olsen. With love to Ukraine. Some support, some Swedish non-smoking support for you there. We have
Thank you, Petra. She's been powerful.
Dunk on you as well, supporting you, and also gifting 10 Greg Terry memberships. What a legend. And Mitch Asyan we've gone through, so thank you, Mitch, for Greg, and Johnny Nebregard as well, supporting out with some Norwegian love. And dunk on you again. Keep doing great things, sir. Slava Ukraini. That's for you. And also gifting 10 more Greg Terry experience memberships. So very kind, Dunk on you, and also for supporting my channel here. So thank you, Dunk on you, for your kindness today. That's very
I know Oink was in there earlier gifting memberships as well. And you should come across Christine McDonald.
Yeah, we'll get there. I was
okay, great. Thank you.
So dunk on you. Thank you again for gifting some ATP Geopolitics membership. So thank you to all those people. We'll return to some more in a wee while.
Good.
So here we have Russia just gaining money, and one analysis I read this morning was $250 billion if the war goes on till September. Now, I doubt the war in Iran will go on September, but it depends if you put boots on the ground. If you put boots on the ground, that is permission for, or not permission for, that will facilitate that war being a long and protracted one. I mean, I can't imagine, surely I know that military people they live for this, right? Which is, as in people in the military, there's no point training unless you're going to go to war type thing, you could argue. So there might be some people chomping the bit to get involved, but surely Afghanistan's got to tell you something. Surely Vietnam and Iraq, they have to tell you that probably not a good idea to go and get involved, because these things take a long time and they don't end well. They just universally do not end well. So I can't understand that you would have an American administration or a Pentagon administration is like, yeah, it'll work this time. We'll get it right this time. You know, and I played this video the other day, Greg, of it wasn't Tuberville. It was an American politician, I think, who was asked about troops going to the Karg Island. He said, well, it's not boots on the ground because it's an island. It's like, you what? Like, what are you? It's an island. Well, like Greenland's an island. Like all land masses are islands. They're all like North and South America. The Americas is technically an island. You still.
So I assume if boots come on the island of Manhattan.
No, yeah, it's not. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's have Russia invade Manhattan. It won't be a war, and it won't be boots on the ground. It's just honestly. The extent people go through to excuse stuff. And then with regard to the idea that they're relieving Iran, and that puts a whole bunch of money in Iran's pocket. Just a few weeks ago, remember, in fact, this is Donald Trump speaking to Michael Martin. So this isn't a few weeks ago, this is the other day. Trump slags off Obama for giving money in 2016 to Iran. But of course, that was money that the Americans had kind of confiscated off Iran, or they'd withheld from Iran. So it was Iranian money that he was giving back for them to do X, Y, and Z, right? So you jump through these hoops with regard to nuclear disarmament, and we'll give you your money back that we've kind of stolen off you, or we're holding because we don't like you. Now you start doing what we want, we'll give your money back. He got loads of hassle for that, whereas and he gets hassled from Trump himself here for doing that. And then yet, in the same breath, he's like, oh, we're going to relieve sanctions on Iran that will put X billion dollars, which is more than Obama gave, by the way, X billion dollars in Iran's pockets. It's just absolutely unconscionable that he would have this kind of
here's
approach.
what you have to watch for, and I encourage everyone watching, always listen for this. Donald Trump will always say, well, they said this. There is no way to confirm where his information ever comes from.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not my advisors at the Pentagon have told me this, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, our Secretary of State. It's always they say. So my question is, who are they?
Stephen Miller. First of all, Stephen Miller, I think, is the single most important person in the Trump administration, bar none. So he's number one, and his fingerprints are all over this. I mean, he's a Jewish fascist. It's probably the best way to explain Stephen Miller. Like, he is essentially a neo-Nazi that has, and you look at the things he said at the age of 17, he's on camera.
I saw that video clip when he was in high school. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of them, he's talking about janitors. Like, I just leave my trash on the ground because, that's what they're paid for, type thing. Like, oh, that's really responsible. So you get that speech. And then there's one on a minibus or in a bus coach on the way back from somewhere where he's talking in a way that you understand. Stephen Miller at the age of 17 is Stephen Miller at the age of 30, whatever, right? He is a horrible, horrible person. So he is number one. Then I think Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff have a lot to say with regard to foreign policy, and they are not experts, and they are wrong. And then you've got people like Russ Vought and all these other people, and then you've got Elbridge Colby, and just the whole Project 2025 group. I just think are just very bad people who are giving him very bad advice that in this ideological ecosystem that is deranged. And there you go.
Yeah.
So
that's
today.
Fair enough. What's interesting is, though, let's just look at the Witkoff and Kushner. Today, they're meeting with Budanov and Kuslitsia and Umarov to talk about Ukraine, war in Ukraine. It'll be interesting to hear what comes out tomorrow after Witkoff comes back from having a talk with the Ukrainians. It's interesting that a week ago or so, after Witkoff met with Kirill Dmitriev in Florida, that the U.S. announced the easing of sanctions. Okay, so what's interesting for me is, let's say it's Witkoff passing information or sitting around, eating cheeseburgers, and they're talking about what needs to be done. Where did that person get that information from? So we know where Stephen Miller's background is, but if you look at people like a Witkoff, for sure, it's obvious in the things he's stated, the attitudes he's had, no matter what he says, he definitely leans pro-Putin. No question.
Well, if I can play you this excerpt from Fox News. This is Doug Burgum. So Doug Burgum was one of the front runners for Trump's VP, right? It went in the end to JD Vance on the behest of Peter Thiel and Donald Trump Jr. But Doug Burgum was going to be, he was the front runner, really. This is him on Fox News.
So I know you were at the White House and you attended the part of the Japan Prime Minister's visit yesterday. I spoke with President Trump earlier today, and he basically said that Japan is a better ally to the United States than NATO, which, when you look at the big picture in history, is a pretty stunning statement. Do you agree with that? And having just been there, do you think that our orientation in terms of our alliances is changing?
Well, clearly it is. What we might consider our traditional allies from Europe have been less than reliable. And from the time that we've spent working with those folks in Eastern Europe, the closer they are to Russia, the more aligned they are with President Trump, and the more aligned they are on energy policy. But
I just want to play that bit again, like, in case you missed that. That is phenomenal. So first of all, by the way, he's calling Europeans unreliable when Trump's the one that's attacked us with trade wars and tariffs. Trump's the one that has threatened to attack Greenland, a NATO ally and European nation, part of the Kingdom of Denmark. Like, how dare he say this? Anyway, like, he is saying that nations that are closer to Russia, that are closer, more aligned to Putin, are more aligned to Trump.
Allies from Europe have been less than reliable. And from the time that we've spent working with those folks in Eastern Europe, the closer they are to Russia, the more aligned they are with President Trump and the more they aligned they are on energy policy. But having been in Japan.
And she's nodding. That's true. That's true. Like, you have just said that any nation that is closer to Vladimir Putin is more aligned to Donald Trump. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. That is that is what he said, isn't it?
It is. And the reference there, man, is to Lukashenko and Orban, just so you know.
Yeah. 100%. And
it's not going to change, though. It's not going to change. It will only continue down this road, and we'll wake up every couple of weeks and be surprised. But this is the inside truth. He loves these guys. You can't get around it. He just personally endorsed Orban on a video, and he's sending the vice president of the United States to Hungary.
This is the vice president of the United States, and this was him back in April 2025, right? So he was the vice president, but this is before the US had got engaged in a war. JD Vance, I think a lot of European nations were right about our invasion of Iraq. And frankly, if the Europeans had been a little more independent and a little more willing to stand up, then maybe we could have saved the entire world from the strategic disaster that was the American-led invasion of Iraq. Wow. Like, that should be plastered in front of Donald Trump and JD Vance's faces on a daily basis. JD Vance, you were saying that we should have stood up to the United States when they asked us to come and help out in Iraq. You said that. And now you are implicitly demanding that we go and capitulate to the United States and get involved in Iran. Just unbelievable.
Welcome. Oink just dropped a comment. Any corrupt administration is more aligned with the U.S. government. And it's seemingly that's what we're seeing. The proof is in the pudding. It's frustrating. It's frustrating.
But
let's do some good news. Because I know your time is limited. Let's do some good news.
Well, can I right?
Go.
First of all, my son just posted through the window in front of me that Pompey have just been beaten 6-1, and we're in a relegation battle with Portsmouth, and I'm not happy with that. So we just lost 6-1. So I need good news. But before
is that a reference to football?
Football.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And before you go on to good news, can I just play this? This woman here is a Labour Party sort of grandee, as she's in the House of Lords, so she's a peer, right? I forget what her she is Labour peer Aisha Hazarika, so she's a Scottish peer, and this is her interpretation of Donald Trump's war in Iran, and I think this is nailing it on BBC Newsnight.
You've got to do more.
What I would say right back to Donald Trump, who's meant to be this great, he thinks he's Captain America. He is like he's sort of like an insane.
He's the captain of America.
Well, right now he's a bit like an insane granddad. And you know what? If you were going to go in and you wanted to take Iran out, the first thing you should have done is got vessels around the Strait of Hormuz, because it did not take a strategic genius to work out that if Iran, and where you are right on this, they have got us by this because of energy. Where does about 20% of the world's oil go through? The Straits of Hormuz. So if Donald Trump wanted to really be serious about the reality is, he wanted to cover up the Epstein files. He's launched this war, no plan. First of all, he said he'd won it. Then he slagged us all off. Then he's asked for our help. Last night, he said he was ahead of schedule for his military plan. The guy is all over the place. And we are all dragged into this complete car crash.
He's all over the place, and we are dragged into this complete car crash. That, to me, is like, yes, I want to hear more analyses like that. That is absolutely spot on. Anyway, good news.
Well,
Greg.
I will say this, and I'm not defending, but the proof's in the pudding. If we had rolled a lot of ships into the Strait of Hormuz at the very beginning, they would have been on the bottom of the sea, because they would have hit some of them. So I'm not everything else spot on, but Iran's technology is good.
I take that as shorthand for we needed to have prepared the Straits of Hormuz
Agreed on that.
better,
I
because,
was just calling out the one
the
thing.
idea that he would go to war in Iran, that the US would go, that the Pentagon would greenlight this without thinking, or by dismissing the idea that Iran could do to the Straits of Hormuz very easily what they've done. I honestly, it's just beggars belief.
Yes. Well, let's end on good news.
Well, we've got to talk Epstein. That's how we're going to end, I think. But anyway, carry on.
Ukraine is doing a phenomenal job defending their nation, leading the world through President Zelensky with the proper statements and the proper leadership, even if he's slapped down with every statement he makes. For example, we're helping in the Middle East.
Yeah.
They're not helping. We don't need them. Meanwhile, there are 230 Ukrainian specialists there helping the United States, helping defend against Shahed drones. Ukraine demolishing initial, and there will be more, guys, but initial onsets of the Russian spring offensive in Liman.
Yeah.
Ukraine daily striking strategic logistical points in the rear, whether it's in Crimea, whether it's down towards Sochi, or as far off as the Far East, 1,600 kilometers away. Ukraine, due to their ability to put fear into air defense of Russia, has Putin in a panic as he increases air defense and infrastructure around Moscow. Ukraine, at the same time, wanting to be good to the world, trying to find solutions to bring nations together while they're battling, communicating with world leaders. I mean, it's the light that's shining, and unfortunately, it's not on the news anywhere now other than us.
This is true. And I think, so something I've talked about literally for years is Ukraine prevails by waging this war from a distance. And we talked about it heaps of times. So long-range missiles, long-range drones, medium-range missiles. So what we are seeing now are medium-range drones, near-ear drones. That's I think, been a significant change in the last 3 months. You've got a ramping up of the production of FP2 drones and similar drones. You've got the FP1 as well and all these other things. And once they start getting cruise missiles and ballistic missiles as well, honestly, it's a game changer. And we're seeing every single night. So the Russians were complaining again this morning that the Ukrainians are now firing more missiles, drones at them than the Russians are firing at Ukraine. Now, that is a huge turnaround. And they are causing havoc right throughout those distances. And then, of course, you've got the contact line of actually those FPV drones with fiber optics and similar and motherships and whatnot can go 60 kilometers, right? So you've got all these different ranges of being able to fight at arm's length. And then we heard today that the Ukrainians can, in principle, replace a third of their population, a third of their soldiers with unmanned ground drones. And if they're going to scale up the use of them, this is how Ukraine wins. Is we've heard, I don't know if you heard this, but you talked about this like over a year ago, Greg. But the reality of the Ukrainian demographics is much worse than people think. So there was
100%.
There was an analysis that came out today from a British guy that had spoken to someone who was like, people don't realize, but the Ukrainian population has gone from over 40 million, they're now at 20 million as far as we understand it, which is way lower than other people have been claiming they are, which is over half the population. And if you're going to try and fight a war and have a functioning economy to pay your taxes into fighting the war, you are going to need more people than that. So that's a disaster. So Ukraine have to solve that with drones, essentially, and that's what they're looking at doing. So what frustrates me, Greg, to finish this idea off, is that at a time when they were succeeding on the front lines and Russia's economy was absolutely collapsing, I think. That's the time that Trump went to war with Iran and has given Russia arguably the biggest uplift, the biggest gift that anyone could give Russia, which is oil money pouring back into the coffers.
No question. And if anyone thinks that all of these things are not connected, then you just have to think that way. But We've all been saying it for so long, how connected this is. I remind you that Iran, Russia have that economic pact. They absolutely are sharing military both ways. And it's just so interesting on the timing that when we were at or approaching a significant breaking point, because Russia is already closing off their society with outside communication. It'll be very difficult to accomplish it completely because they didn't build it from the ground up like North Korea. They're now trying to go backwards on that, pull stuff out. And there's a lot of smart people with the ability to use VPNs and technology. But regardless, they're suppressing it as much as they can. It's going the wrong way. You should be able to look at that and analyze it. That is not someone I want to align with, but no, we're going to assist them by bringing resources into their coffers. And I remind you that over the last 2 weeks, some of the major statements that have come out from President Trump are, it's obvious that Putin wants a deal. Zelensky is always the one holding up the deal. Zelensky is always the one. And now, once Trump gets wind that there will be no elections for president in calendar year 2026, that's going to blow his stack as well. And in addition to that, just like we were discussing, we're pumping money right into our enemy's treasury account.
But Kash Patel announcing that that signal has been hacked by, well, not so much hacked, but actually phishing, all these phishing. I don't even heard about this, but
yeah, I've got it. Kash Patel is a clown.
Loads of American politicians, journalists, government ministers have.
Do you have that tweet?
I don't to hand the Kash Patel one.
All right.
No, yeah, I can find it really quickly. But basically, he admits that one, Russia has been, let's say, hacking Americans, really prominent Americans. So this should be permission to say Russia are the bad guys. We need to react robustly against Russia. But his tweet basically victim blames and says, you guys need to be more careful with how you use Signal, rather than saying, watch out, Russia are the bad guys and they're trying to get all our information. It's quite incredible.
You caught that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so his tweet says, Signal's being hacked, Russia's doing it, all of this stuff is happening, but his last sentence is the problem. His last sentence, I've got it right here.
I've got it.
Okay.
It's there. Okay. So the FBI has identified cyber actors associated with Russian intelligence services targeting users of commercial messaging applications, including Signal. So notice the victim blaming here. The campaign targets individuals of high intelligence value, including current and former US government officials, military personnel, political figures, and journalists. Globally, this effort has resulted in unauthorized access to thousands of individual accounts. Okay, so that's where you start going, screw you, Russia, we're gonna do something about this. So he goes, after gaining access, the actors can view messages and contact lists, send messages as the victim, and conduct additional phishing from a trusted identity. And it hasn't got the last bit on there. So sorry, there is a further bit. Here it is. So the important bit is this. It's important for you to be aware and take action. This vulnerability is not with the application, but you as an end user.
Yes. Man, I had that ready to go on an update video, and now we've covered it here. I mean, shredding. Signal is compromised. The enemy's using, I didn't use the word enemy, but, unfriendlies are using it to break in. They can control your activity, and it's your fault if you have a problem.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
No. It's believable.
Yeah.
He's incompetent.
Yeah.
He's incompetent.
Look, we're going to do two things, right? We're going to do one before the end of the video. We're going to thank some people, and then we're going to go to the Epstein files to finish it off, if you don't mind. Is that okay with you?
I am down, man.
Cool. He has all the technological wizardry at his fingertips. Okay. Thanks to Uxbridge 2. This is on my channel. The terrain north of the Gulf is all mountain. I guess that means it's quite difficult, or it's quite easy to hide things, maybe, or maybe it's more difficult to hide things because actually there's not buildings. I don't know. Anyway,
well, Iran actually, if you talk, I'm assuming that's what he's talking about there. But it is very mountainous. But There's flatlands as well, but it's very, very mountainous and canyons and crevices. It looks a lot like Nevada from the air, to be honest.
So Christine McDonald, for you, very, very generously here.
Yeah, thank you, Christine McDonald.
Trump didn't think this out. What did he think was going to happen when he invaded Iran? Prices were going to go up. Oh, to think that Ukraine is helping the US and partner with Shaheds. Trump can't handle the need for Ukraine's help. Trump can't. I think the issue with Trump is that
she's spot on.
Yeah, absolutely. If Trump shows any need, which is weird because he's been asking for help. But essentially, if he ever gets help, it shows that he is weak, right? And it shows that the US isn't all that and a bag of chips. And so, therefore, like if he gets any help from Ukraine, it's not just a bad reflection on the US, but therefore it's a bad reflection on him because he is the US. So that's how I understand that. Yes, Greg.
No, it's deeper than that. I remind you of what will now, people are saying, go down in history as one of the most interesting head of state, presidential, prime minister level confrontations of all time recorded on video. The confrontation between President Zelensky, Trump, J.D. Vance, February of 2025. That was the day he screamed at Zelensky and said, "You have no cards." And now it is absolutely impossible for him to come back and say,
"You've got cards.
Help us. You have a card." Never going to happen.
Yeah, it's a good point. And thank you very much, Christina. Super generous for Greg's channel. Kevin Forst, thank you for your ATP Geopolitics memberships and Monzuka Biscuit. And it reminds me that I should thank all my members. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you to all the members. Thank you to all the moderators. You guys are the best.
Little Dog 664 says, Greg, would you promote or recommend people vote for a Democrat if it means the end of Trump or MAGA? Or it's put you in a corner. He's gone silent.
I'm not gone silent. Yes.
I don't think you need to explain that because I think that's perfectly obvious. But yeah. I think the danger that
I have to, for me, philosophically, I have to weigh out, and it's obvious. Listen,
as long as the GOP is MAGA and Trump, then it is not the GOP of old.
That's right. Thank you. You just stated what I wanted to say. Correct.
And so therefore, you're not really. I think you're not voting for the GOP. You're voting for MAGA. And I honestly think so. Like, if you are a conservative, what Trump's policies are not conservative. So literally,
that's right. Thank you, sir.
Conservatism literally means to conserve traditions, norms, and mores, right? So the traditions, norms, and mores are things like foreign policy, NATO, even membership of things like WHO, all these things where the US has like power, a soft power and hard power. It's like a conservative would say, right, I don't want quick change. Progressives would be like, let's scrap everything and start anew, and let's be, and populists are all up for like burning stuff down. But conservatives say, we want to conserve that which we have already because it's got us to where we are and this is a good place and blah, blah, blah. But if we are going to change, we need to do it slowly and in a considered manner. That literally is what conservatism kind of means.
I like limited government, free market, strong defense, traditional social values that can have the freedom and vary by person, and respect for institutions.
Yeah.
Like you were saying. I mean, okay, on the tariffs, I'm sorry, but you went down this road on the tariffs. The way he disrespected our justices, some of whom he put on the bench.
That's that's not conservative. You know, these are people that you should be respecting. Yeah.
Evil. And we've come to the point, especially in the United States, where there is no more cordiality. Yeah. There's no more respect. I go back to the Mondale-Reagan debate, 1984, where Reagan was asked the question by the moderator, "Sir, are you going to allow the issues with your age to become a problem in this election and campaign? Does it cause an issue for you? And Reagan responded with that very famous response: I will not allow the youth and inexperience of my opponent to become a problem in this campaign. And even Walter Mondale broke out laughing. They just respected each other and completely disagreed. That's gone. Everything now is personal. This new cat that we're trying to put in as the Homeland Security wants to fight everybody right in the middle of the. Okay.
Oh, Mark Wayne Mullen is
It's a clown show, and the world sees it. It's a clown show.
I respect you for that, Greg. Pyro Kurt Brubaker says, I just want to thank both of you, JP and Greg, for all you do for Ukraine, Slavo Ukraini. So thank you, Pyro. It's really, really generous of you.
Yes, he is a wonderful person and big help for me.
Andrew, but thank you for
Andrew Scully down from Australia.
Andrew Scully, Trump added $8 trillion to the deficit in his first term and has added over $1 trillion in the first year. Government is supposed to serve the people, not crucify them. He's financially illiterate. He has, so what is it, 25? Donald Trump alone is responsible for 25% of the American debt.
Yeah, but listen, we did all these deals with Qatar and the UAE, and trillions of dollars are coming in. We're going to pay down that deficit and that debt. And not only that, I think we're going to do a rebate check to every American for $5,000, and then we're going to do this $2,000.
So what he's doing all this, right? Money going everywhere, but meanwhile he's got a leaf blower or a leaf sucker sucking all that money back into his pocket. It's like, yeah, everyone's getting money everywhere. Oh, look, it's all in my pocket now. Isn't that nice? So Stephen Bendal, thank you very much. It's a weekend, Slava Ukraini. Yes,
yeah,
it is.
Exactly.
And here we still are.
No, he's doing this, and Witkoff and all the guys behind him with vacuum cleaners going zzz.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. Witkoff or himself. Any corrupt administration.
Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. Yes, get that from Oink. That is true. Listen, I just want the world to know my groceries are up, my gas is up, my electricity is up, the fuel for my car is up. But listen,
I don't know what a grocery
is. It's never been cheaper in America. It's never.
What is a grocery? This is some word that.
My food products I buy at the local store.
Oh yeah, thank you. Because I, like Donald Trump, don't understand the word grocery.
That's right. Okay, thank you.
That's where I was going. Johnny Nevergard, thank you for your love, my man. Appreciate it. Andrew Scully, as an Aussie, as an Aussie, I have nothing but respect and admiration for Zelensky and the and the Ukrainian people. Australia has and always will support Ukraine. Thank you, Andrew.
There's a comment in here from a viewer just coming by on my channel now. It's from Lucy Goosey Hikes, and I think this is worthy of being stated. As a young person, it makes me so angry that we have so much debt, but not much to show for it. So there's a different demographic, a lot of the demographics of people on geopolitical channels and YouTube are, older. So
I saw who was
for that comment. Agreed.
I think Mike Waltz was in a town hall about Iran, and someone stood up in the audience and said, like, I'm a student and this is, everything's really hurting at the moment. Why is going to war in Iran? What's this doing to help me? And Mike Waltz didn't have an answer for that. And yeah. So it was really good. Mark Biscu, Mark and all on that. Ukraine is helping America. Russia is helping Iran. Yet Trump says the Ukrainians are still the bad guys. I have no more walls left upon which to beat my head. But I do love seeing you two together. Thank you, Mark. And
thank you, honestly,
Mark. As a Ukrainian, like if I was a Ukrainian living in the United States, I would just be like, I'd be crying myself to sleep every night, and just so super angry. I really get that, Mark. I really, really do. Mitch Ashdown, our troops need to be in Ukraine. I think I would go for a no-fly zone. delivered not by NATO, because obviously the US wouldn't agree to that, but by a coalition of the willing. I think a no-fly zone is the next step. Trump needs to be removed from office now. That would require the Republican Party to actually start standing up.
I agree, and the 25th is never going to happen.
No. And I've Gone Fishing says, here's a joke to lighten the mood. What do Russian oligarchs and bureaucrats fear more than failure? An open window. This is true. But we're starting to see with the closing down of the internet and
all right, I'm going to throw out one conspiracy.
Okay.
I don't do this, but I'm going off of the joke there. And this is not a joke. How on earth has the is their last name Guthrieson, the Today Show or whatever it is, Mama, somebody in the chat can make sure I get the name right. Mama been gone for this long and not been found, and you have all those connections to previous interviews and all that. That's number one. And then number two, Guthrie's, yeah. And then number two, there's this story now of a general, avid outdoorsman out in Arizona or New Mexico, Guthrie, thank you guys, who's now just disappeared, and his family's saying it's not possible for him to disappear. It's just, man, the United States just created an alien.gov site. I mean, I go to bed every night, JP, and I wake up tomorrow. I wake up the following morning and go,
tomorrow never comes.
I don't even know how it can get more bizarre.
Yeah, I'm with you, my friend.
Major General McCaslin, thank you. Tomps and Savannah Guthrie, thank you guys. Oh, that's Holly. That's my wife, Savannah Guthrie.
Thanks, guys. Who's this son Holly Bird saying? Yeah, something.
Oh, he just posted. Oh, I'll keep up.
He's alive. The Pirate says,
Thank
"What a
you.
tragedy the world is now." Thanks to Trump. This is true. Thanks, Pirate. I asked, says Little Dog, about you about would you endorse a Democrat, because of how I see other anti-Trump Republicans. So thank you for that question. F. Oink says, a limited government interference goes both ways. Large corporation interference in government can also, that's really important. So it's not just about limited government, but it's about limited corporate interference in government.
Yes.
That's a really good point, because I think that's the major part of the problem with the American administration at the moment.
Oink's beard is showing wisdom right now.
Ryoma Sakamoto III says, I recommend you check out Ryan Getty. I think you will like his stuff. Thank you for the recommendation.
Right. I'm writing that down as well. Thank you.
Ryan Getty. Keith Morrison, thank you for this, Keith. What do we think would happen if a 3,000 kilometer, ballistic missile did make it to Diego Garcia? I presume this was just a case of like keeping people thinking rather than realistically thinking it would reach Diego Garcia. Is that an attack on the UK, or is it an attack on the American base there? I think it's probably more likely an attack on the American base. If it had reached there, then I don't know.
It was just a signal, guys.
Yeah,
it was just a signal. It was never intended to hit it. It was just a signal. It's much like when Vladimir Putin has twice used an Oreshnik in Ukraine, but did not put the warheads on it. It's nothing but a signal. This is what these guys do. And they wanted to sling those missiles out there because they want the world to know that what you're hearing, that they are completely 100% defeated. Secondly, their goal right now is to absolutely destroy the global economy.
Yeah, they're in this existentially and ideologically, so they didn't care about their own economy or the economies in general. So they're out there, and that's the asymmetry, that the US didn't predict. They thought, well, if we killed this guy, and that's Netanyahu's thinking, if we kill this guy, then we'll decapitate them and then they'll collapse. And actually, no, they're being now driven by ideology, so it doesn't really matter. And that's very difficult to combat against. You know,
You
didn't predict
cause enemies to become friends.
Yeah.
And when that happens, okay, let me try to explain it this way. And I think everyone will understand this. Whatever nation you're from right now, let's just make one up. UK. Okay, UK. Johnny, if you guys were,
Rally round
God
the flag.
forbid, struck in London by a missile from Iran, at that point, really, party affiliations, differences in viewpoints falls to the side, and you rally together. That's what's happening in Iran.
I think if the missile did reach Diego Garcia, I think the US would just go to town even more than they are. I don't know how much that would be possible, but there would be no mercy, no quarter, which is already what a Hegseth has said, which is incidentally a war crime. A pirate says, as Johnny said, it's a weekend. Cheers, Skål from Norway. Love these guys live. Thank you. And
Thank you, pirate.
I much prefer us live than otherwise, which is dead. So definitely. Graham, JP, Greg, can you plug Slavy's Ukraine channel at the end? Starts in 2 hours, please.
Yep.
Plugged.
If you type in Slavy Ukraine in YouTube, it'll pop right up.
Yeah.
And she's a Ukrainian out of Kharkiv originally, I believe, and now broadcasting from the US.
Awesome. And the pirate, finally, on this, the pirate gifting 1 ATP Geopolitics membership. So thank you for that. Actually, you've got a Peace for Ukraine and All Wars.
Amen to that.
Yes, Suzanne Yantha, so from Canada. So, that sounds eminently sensible to me. Right, where we're going to finish this then broadcast is on the Epstein files. So I just want to play this for you.
I'm excited.
Yeah, well, I think it's highly unlikely that he didn't know. It's highly unlikely. I don't have the facts, but we do know that Khan, Epstein's accountant, testified that the Epstein estate settled with Jane Doe number 4. A very important Jane Doe. Jane Doe number 4's files were hidden until Trump bombed Iran and changed the subject. Jane Doe's number 4 files were only found missing because of the Maxwell discovery. And people noticed that Bates stamps, numbers that lawyers use to identify documents, were missing. So we get, finally, right after bombing Iran, we get the Jane Doe number 4 files. Now, lying to the FBI is a crime. Martha Stewart went to jail for it. All people interviewed by the FBI are told that. Jane Doe number 4 alleged to the FBI that Epstein abused her when she was 13 and that Trump abused her when she was 15. Khan, Epstein's accountant, testified that the Epstein estate settled with Jane Doe number 4 for both Epstein and Trump.
Can I just say how important that is?
Please.
So Epstein's accountant there's been a settlement for Jane Doe number 4 for the assault the assaults by both Epstein and Trump, and the settlement is for both Epstein and Trump. In other words, Trump has settled with a victim for abuse that Trump took part in or perpetrated against Jane Doe number 4. And those
This is
files,
a fact.
This is a fact. And those files went missing. They were not put out into the public as they should have been under law that Trump himself signed. And they were only found out about due to like numbers, like lawyers looking into numbers and saying, well, hang on, these are missing, that's missing.
His lawyer tried to walk that back. Indike refused to confirm or deny that. Now, how do we get to the bottom of that? Congress passes a law invalidating all NDAs from the Trump or the Trump organization, from Epstein, any of his entities, from the estate, or based on any activities at the Epstein properties. Let's have the truth. We want the truth, no NDAs.
So, there needs to be some truth coming out from this. And the problem is when Trump is approached to speak about stuff like this is his reaction. Now, this is very Trumpian. He shuts down difficult questions and he says you're a fake, you're fake news, etc.
Fake news.
But this just shows you what how sensitive Trump is to Epstein.
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question.
So this is going
He
back
believes
in
he's
time.
above the law, sir. That's
Yeah.
what he's saying there.
This is going back to when Mohammed bin Salman was in the Oval Office. But the idea, so even then, you know, why didn't you release the Epstein files? You disgusting human being, right? Which is complete distraction away. And then we have this. I'm just going to show you this.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are now questioning an accountant who worked closely with convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein for more than a decade. Richard Kahn's testimony is the latest of high-profile depositions of people associated with Jeffrey Epstein. Let's bring in CBS News correspondent Elaine Keano for much more about this. Elaine, what can you tell us about Richard Kahn's deposition so far?
Well, Richard Kahn is one of two executors of Jeffrey Epstein's estate. He's testifying behind closed doors on Capitol Hill. So no cameras inside right now. This morning, as Kahn arrived, a reporter asked if he was there to answer any questions. His attorney interjected and said yes. Now, just a few minutes ago, our colleague Graham Cates obtained the opening statement that Richard Kahn gave to members of the House Oversight Committee. And I just want to read a couple of lines here. It reads in part, quote, "First, in the years that I provided outside accounting and bookkeeping services for Jeffrey Epstein, I was not aware of the terrible and unforgivable things that he did to women and girls. My relationship with Epstein was strictly on a professional level." And the statement wraps up by saying, quote, "I was not aware of the nature or extent of Epstein's abuse of so many women until after Epstein's death. However, it pains me to think, and I deeply regret, that I may have unknowingly assisted Epstein in any way."
So this guy, Senator Wyden, found JP Morgan Chase failed to report over $1 billion in suspicious transactions linked to Epstein. So the amount of money that was flowing around Epstein, and this accountant, you know, needs to be hauled over the coals to find out what was going on here. So Senator Wyden asked Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent for the records, but Scott Bessent has refused, and the DOJ is blocking the files. The Treasury is blocking the money trail. So the money trail going to Epstein is being blocked, and that can only be, in my opinion, you know, a way of trying to stop the truth from getting out. Now, really, the point here to discuss for us briefly, albeit briefly, is that the Iran war, I doubt you go to war in order to distract from the Epstein files. I think it's going to be a mixture of everything, right? So Netanyahu comes to you. Netanyahu might have, and the claim is that actually Mossad and the FSB have the Epstein files, and they have the leverage over Trump. And they say, we want to go to war in Iran, and we want you to come with us. And we've got Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, and Stephen Miller, who also want that for their own ideological reasons. And you are being, we have leverage over you, and also you're in trouble at home with the Epstein files. So this would be a great distraction from them. And Trump goes, yeah, sounds good to me. And then he also looks at Venezuela and says, well, look how easy Venezuela was. Look how amazing our armed forces are. We're just going to do Venezuela 2.0 in Iran, and it'll be really easy. And then he goes and does it, and it's a complete disaster. But it does still distract away from the Epstein files, which should be front page news in the United States.
I believe that Israel and the Kremlin know everything.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with
I
you.
just do.
Yeah.
Now, I want to let you guys know, breaking right now, well, earlier today, there was a bombing near the Natanz nuclear site in Iran.
Mm-hmm.
And Israel just came out now and said, we didn't do it. It was the American heavy bombers. But right now, about 11 minutes ago, Iran has dropped missiles near the Dimona nuclear facility in southern Israel. And they did impact, but not the nuclear facility. It is just saying we can strike back at your areas as well. So, it's just one coordinate off, one accident, one deflection. When you're playing around with fire like this, that's the danger around the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. When you play around with it, eventually something's going to happen that is going to be extremely detrimental globally.
Yeah, and I've just brought this up here as well on the screen, which is when the oil and gas fields were struck in Iran, which is contrary to what the US is trying to do. And I've talked about this a couple of times, Greg. The idea that Trump slags off European and NATO allies for not coming to the US's help in releasing the ships into the Straits of Hormuz, right? Which is all about allowing hydrocarbons onto the global market. And then Israel goes and bombs an oil field and a gas field, and then Iran retaliates by hitting the world's biggest LNG field processing plant.
17% out now. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's functionally identical. So closing the Straits of Hormuz or not opening them is the same as the bombing those places, right? Trump should be going to Netanyahu and denigrating Netanyahu as publicly as he is denigrating Keir Starmer and other leaders for not coming to his assistance. And yet he doesn't. But then there's these different arguments to do with whether the US actually knew that Israel were going to do that. So Trump on Truth Social said Israel, out of anger for what has taken place in the Middle East, has violently lashed out in a major facility known as the South Pars oil gas field. Now, he says he knew nothing about that on Truth Social. Contrary to Trump's statements, though, senior Israeli and US officials said that the United States had prior knowledge to the Israeli strike and even approved it in an event to pressure Iran. But even if he approved that, that does seem utterly bizarre because it functionally achieves the same as closing the Straits of Hormuz. So, like, that to me is, if he did approve it, it's insanity. And if he didn't approve it, then Netanyahu is just doing what he wants, and Trump is unable to stop Netanyahu. And by the way, the war being a distraction for the Epstein files for Trump, the war is a distraction away from Netanyahu going to prison for corruption, by the way. So both leaders have a distinct advantage from this war taking place. And Netanyahu's invading Lebanon as well. So, throw that one in there.
Okay. Yes. 1 second. Because we're live.
Yes.
And
just
can you go to Truth Social and pull up Trump's?
Yes, I can. I can do that.
Tweet from 13 minutes ago.
Yeah. So Donald Trump on Truth Social. Let's have a look at that. Let's share this tab. Let's get there. It's just verification. Let's see what you've got. Okay. Is this what you wanted for him? Is that the one?
No, down. Should be 13 minutes ago.
Okay. No, that was obviously.
Yeah, click on his name there. Now click. Yeah. There.
It's struggling.
All right. Let me do it then. Here.
Oh,
there you go. Right there. Up.
Meeting our objectives.
Right there.
That's one I showed earlier.
No, right there. Second one.
Oh, Robert Mueller just died. Good. I'm glad he's dead. He can no longer hurt innocent people. Oh my God, how lovely.
Okay.
He's just such a bad human.
That's. I don't care what the person has done. This person just died. Good. I'm glad he's dead.
He's such a bad human.
What human says that?
Donald Trump human. That's what human. Oh well. There we go. That's the world we live in. So thank you.
Was it an open window? Just question there. Listen, guys, you need to pay attention this evening. There's quite a few missiles slinging back and forth close at nuclear facilities. I'm watching the missile strikes now on Israel, and it was significant. Already 40 wounded from that strike, and it's just happening. So, right there.
So thank you very much to Michael Vuchar for ATP Geopolitics memberships. That's really, really generous. Thank you, Michael. And I've Gone Fishing says, respectfully, I would not vote for a Democrat who isn't willing to meet me in the middle. A no vote is still a vote in my book. Or then I would hope you didn't vote for the Republican.
Well, let me answer that.
That's all I would say to that.
I've Gone Fishing. Thank you for that. First of all, but respectfully, I would not vote for a Democrat who's willing to meet me in the middle. So the question that I was asked, would I vote for Trump MAGA? Okay. So of course I want meeting in the middle, compromise, people coming together. I don't even believe anymore personally that there is traditional Democrat, traditional Republican. It's all dead. It's gone. We're in a new era, new chapter. But the question was against Trump, and there is no question that Trump, I mean, that tweet right there proves why he must
not get
not
voted
be
in,
in
or at
power,
least
not be in power.
Yeah. Just before we go, just there's some sort of breaking news that Shihato, oops, no, not that one. Foreign Minister from Hungary apparently is leaking, or Hungary is leaking all of the information from communications and meetings from the EU directly to Russia. It's not surprising, but that is being reported in a number of different places. Hungary immediately leaks all EU talks to Moscow. Shihato reported directly to Lavrov about the EU meetings, according to the Washington Post. So that's interesting. I'm sure we'll have to dissect that over the coming days. Look,
there was one last question here that I want to answer, and it was just in the chat over here. Any breaking news from Ukraine? Yes. 5 minutes ago, Foreign Minister Andrei Subiga just made this statement. There are no more safe places in Russia, as Ukraine will start now hitting the enemy on an even larger scale. 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. So I think we do another live over the next couple of days and just talk about the Ukraine war explicitly.
Yeah,
about strikes and stuff like that.
Let's do it early in the week, Monday, Tuesday. Focus completely on Ukraine.
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
And lots going on. As you pointed out, ballistics hitting. If you want to see a ballistic missile hit almost directly on someone, an Iranian ballistic missile struck Dimona overnight after a failed interception attempt. 20 people reported injured there. I mean,
it's up to 40 now, and that is right adjacent to the nuclear power plant.
Right, that's the one, is it?
I mean, hello.
Yeah. Interesting.
But they've been 100% defeated and have no more weapons. No more Navy, no more Air Force, no more missiles. All the sea drones in those boats are all AI. Nothing is real. Nothing's real.
I think it was definitely, I understood that to be aliens doing that. So
aliens. I will say this. I need to say this. One thing that really troubles me, though, is when that is called out, whether it's by anybody, but I don't appreciate as an American when my government uses AI to make political statements, whether it's using clips from a movie, sports, bowling, football, wrestling, and then blend that into a military action. And it's just wrong, and I assume you guys know what I'm talking about. I just can't stand it.
Yeah, they're coming out with all sorts of crazy videos at the moment. All different.
How do you post that on the White House official channel?
Yeah, bad. It's wrong. If you want to feel good and happy, go and check out on the socials. Alexander Usyk, the boxer, is taking Anthony Joshua, who's a British boxer, around Ukraine. They're visiting. He's in his home, or in a traditional home. They're singing songs and being very Ukrainian. And Anthony Joshua is getting a taste of Ukrainian life. So that's something to look out for. Anyway, look. Thank you to the mods. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
Super generous. Thank you to all of you wonderful people in the live chat. Thanks to my two favorite YouTubers, says Rick from the Netherlands.
Thank you, Rick.
Mods and comms. Appreciate that. Rick from the Netherlands then says Trump got the second highest number of votes ever. The man is a bat. Is batshit. Sorry. The only reason we have to take him seriously is because he is the president. He has to
Unfortunately.
Go. Yes. Yeah, that's such his way. Look, thank you, everyone. You're all incredibly generous. Thank you to my man Greg for
and thank you, JP.
a great interlocutor.
Yeah,
which
and
is-
listen, in the next 2-3 days, guys, we'll get together for another live all
Yep.
Ukraine.
Yeah, let's do it. Do it.
Yeah, man.
Do it.
Be
Cool
blessed,
beans.
guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Slava Ukraini.
We got to Slava.
Indeed. Take care, y'all.
Bye-bye.